This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
What's going on? All I can say is TGIF. It's the Friday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill, who still, again, is at Disneyland. I think this is like a three-month thing for you, bud.
I don't know. I got to ask my wife, man. I don't do the planning around here.
Yeah, this looks like an amazing trip. So Rosie back with us once again. Remember, subscribe, tap that like button, leave us a review. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest on all things Toronto Maple Leafs. The chat is hot and heavy already here and interactive on YouTube. If you got thoughts, comments, concerns, questions, we got some people writing in already. Hit us up. We'll get to that a bit later on in the show, but certainly a lot to cover here in the week capper. But first, I must ask you, the Buffalo Sabres are in town tomorrow night. What's it like to play Buffalo? What's it like to play a struggling team? Because that team has lost 7 in a row coming into tomorrow night's game, Rosie.
Yeah, it's kind of a different one. It's kind of like a forced rivalry. Like, we're supposed to have this rivalry because you're so close, and like sometimes you won't even fly there depending on what your schedule is. And but at the end of the day, it's still just the Buffalo Sabres. So like, there isn't an actual rivalry there. It's not like you're playing Boston or Montreal. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like, I mean, I was looking at a stat the other day at how their starts have gone, and like how they've won the first X games and then just this disgusting trail of losses afterwards. Like, they've done it for like 3 or 4 years straight, and really struggling and doing it again right now. So always nice to jump on a team when they're on that losing streak, but you also got to look out for them trying extra hard to snap out of it, right?
Yeah, I believe it was Greg Wyshynski of ESPN that put out the really good tweet the other night about Buffalo and just sort of the track record the last couple of years of starting off hot and then going into the abyss in the month of November. Sort of similar or opposite, I should say, to the Toronto Maple Leafs. But as mentioned, it always seems like Buffalo plays Toronto tough, right? They've lost 7 in a row, but they took 3 or 4 meetings last season. So on the contrary of everything you just said about the Leafs not really caring that they're playing Buffalo, I think it's the opposite. The Sabres get up for every game against Toronto, don't they?
Yeah, well, you don't want to. It's kind of a sleeper game, right? Like, oh, good, this team's sliding, but it's like, do you know how
Yeah.
freaking hard those guys are scratching and clawing to get out of it every single night? And like you said, they tend to come into Toronto and play hard. So it's one of those sleeper games that you don't want to be caught napping, or they'll break their streak against you, and that's kind of the last thing you want, right? And that the Leafs team has struggled with that. They're, again, playing really good teams very well, and then having those dropped games against teams that they should win, and it's got to be a mental thing, right?
It certainly does. And we're looking forward to seeing what the Leafs have in store for that game coming up tomorrow night. Again, feeling pretty good about themselves. 9-5-4 out of the gates, 5-1-2 here in November. All in all, considering the start, not too shabby. Let's get over the boards right now. As expected, it was an interesting night at Scotiabank Arena. It was 2 evenly matched teams. I was really, really impressed once again by the New Jersey Devils, just the way they played that game, how stingy they were defensively. And to me, it was the same old story with puck management, and we will get to that as you see down below in one of the topics. But Yegor Sharangovich scores the OT winner off a tough giveaway from John Tavares, and 11 straight victories here for the New Jersey Devils, Rosie.
Yeah, they're absolutely rolling. And we knew that going into this game, that it was going to be, difficult, and you'd have to bring everything. And I think I'd said that, it's those little tiny mistakes that, sometimes can be masked against lesser teams. But a team like that's rolling as hot as the New Jersey Devils are right now, that any mistake is going to be, hyper obvious against that team, and they'll take advantage of it. So it's hard to feel right now. I don't know if I'm happy we got a point against that team right now, one of the very few teams that have gotten any points off that team. So obviously a success in that regard, but also like, man, you could have won that game if it were just to clean up a couple of things,
Yeah, I think you take the point and you move on. Number one, that team's in an absolute heater right now. They've won 10 in a row, 11 in a row now after that victory against the Leafs. So you knew you were up against it to start that game. I thought there's a lot of positives to grab, believe it or not, Mr. Positive Nick Alberga, but the goaltending, Matt Murray, I think the play of some of the upper echelon players is great to see as well. And I think all in all, there's something to be learned from a game like that. But Having said that, the turnovers were a big story. And again, we'll get to that. But my other question was too, what's with Toronto in 3-on-3 overtime? And I crunched the numbers because I was really, really curious. 58 and 68 in the Austin Matthews era, dating back to 2016. They're 1-4 this season. Do they have to recalibrate, change what they're doing in overtime, or is it all about that opening faceoff, Rosie?
It is it is a bit of a like I like the 3-on-3. It's exciting as hell, and the old like 5-on-5 overtime was just like, come on, like what are the chances someone's going to score? You're just watching a few extra minutes of hockey, where this is like, oh my god, what's going to happen? It goes one way. I mean, more often than not, after a scoring chance, it is a scoring chance the other way. You just can't help but be caught down low, and if it doesn't go in the net, there's going to be two guys there, and away you go the other way. And it's just like odd man rush after odd man rush breakaway, and it's got to be a different mentality of how you protect the ice and how you go about it. And I wish the Leafs would kind of revert a little bit more to protection and then take their chances. They've got enough explosiveness and high offense players to jump on a loose puck and take advantage of a quick play. But it seems like they're just slinging out there. And I mean, not to pick on a guy, but like Mitch Marner does not have a great track record in the 3-on-3 overtime, yet he starts every single overtime. And, John Tavares, I don't mind him. He's not as fleet of footed for all that ice and all that room out there for that slinging type of 3-on-3 game. But, why isn't William Nylander out there is my question, where, he was probably the hottest player going into or playing yesterday's game. And you start with Marner that just doesn't have a great track record of keeping his brain on defense during that thing. So a little bit of frustration there for sure. But I mean, Johnny T, like he made that nice pick off in overtime. He like turned the puck over and they were going north with it. And then kind of that made a pretty gutsy call going against the grain there in overtime and picked off Johnny T right back, and then it's back in the net. But that's 3-on-3. I guess you just got to chalk it up, I guess, is all you can do. It's just kind of crazy hockey out there.
That's exactly my thinking. And it's always astonishing to me that it always seems to be a giveaway to the best player on the ice. It happened again last night where it's Jack Hughes. Like the good players, and you played the game, you played in the league, they just know where to be at the right time. And it's like fitting enough for New Jersey. It lands right on the stick of Jack Hughes. But to your point, I think the ideology, quite frankly, is for Toronto to gain possession and to get Matthews on the ice. I think you take your chances and you take your lumps with having John Tavares start overtime because you're thinking he's going to win the faceoff more times than not. So I think you just tipped your cap to New Jersey last night, no?
Yeah, exactly. You try to dissect something that went wrong on what did we do wrong. Sometimes the other team just did something right, and especially with 3-on-3 where that is so high risk, high reward, even if you're not trying to play that way. I mean, there's just so much ice out there, and you got nothing but guns on the ice, and there's only three of you. They have so much space and creativity. It just happens. It just is frustrating that Toronto keeps being on the short side of it there.
Puck management. This is the big thing I wanted to cover on today's show. It's been a story, I would say, in the first 6 weeks of this season for this Maple Leafs team. I ask you this question. Are these mistakes fixable, Rosie?
Well, of course they are. Like if anything's fixable, that's fixable, right? It's not like it's not like you're lacking experience. It's not like you're lacking, goaltending now. It's not like these things where it's like we just physically don't have it. Like that it's not in the room, right? That's something where it's like, oh God, we got to go to the well somewhere and try to get a new player, make a trade or figure something out. It's not that problem. It's just like keep your head on straight and make better choices. And it's a system thing where it's just ingrained in the team to protect that puck and support that puck. And as much as it is puck management, it's ice management too. And like these defensemen just go off into la la land. And it's like, dude, do you not know who you're playing? Like you leave that spot open when they have the puck, boom, the guy's got it and it's in the back of your net. And that happened on, the first goal last night. It's like, what are we doing? That's peewee shit where you're just defenseman just leaving the front of the net. Like you're the weak side defenseman and you just float over towards the puck like it's a magnet. And it's like, where were you going, man? Like you're playing your defense, your net front. And those things are absolutely fixable, man. You just have to do it and you have to apply it. Every single guy on that roster is capable.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's one of those things where I get it. It's a game in November. I do think the urgency, by the way, has been there for this Leafs team, but I think the attention to detail is just not there right now, and certainly a story and a prevailing storyline through the first 6 weeks of this season are the gaffes and the giveaways, and that's why I was being so strong in my feelings with those losses to like Arizona and San Jose and Anaheim, because you saw the breakdowns. And that's the problem I run into now is like, while I'm okay with the loss and I've been okay with the losses recently that they've stacked up, it's more so how you're losing those games that really, really get to me. And I think now, in order for the Leafs to be a really good team, to get to an elite team in the regular season here, at least this season, you have to rectify these mistakes. Like, are you going to see Boston make these errors on a nightly basis? Vegas, to an extent. I know Tampa has struggled early on, but those upper echelon teams who are legitimate bona fide cup contenders, are they going to make these mistakes in game 17 or game 75? Like, it doesn't matter. You're not seeing it for the most part from these teams, and that's what concerns me, Rosie.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and all we're doing right now is elevating our expectations, which is a
Yep.
good thing. This team is a good team. We expect this team to be the team that goes deep and gets it done finally this year. You know, absolutely, the beyond the second round is the goal here, and I think it's very possible with the roster. But as they keep elevating their play, expectations come along with that, and absolutely, the high end premier teams are not really making those those easily fixable mistakes, those unnecessary mistakes, right? Like any time of the day, you're going to get beat on this, you're going to get goals scored against you. That's just hockey. But when you're doing it to yourself, that's the frustrating thing. And again, they're getting a point against the New Jersey Devils, and
Yeah.
they've been very hot, and that's fantastic. We're not beating on the team, and we're happy with where they are. But I mean, no one's ever satisfied. There's never a team in the world that's satisfied. Yeah, we've got everything going. We're all good. We're not working on anything today. Good job, guys. That's never happened. It doesn't matter if you're on a 10-game heater, if you're back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. That it's never the case. That's never happened in hockey. Where we're just, hey, we're all good. You're always working on stuff. So absolutely, and I like the fact that the puck management stuff is a fixable problem. It's not this unknown problem that can't be fixed within that dressing room. It's there. It's just it you just got to clean it up, and they got to come together and just make those mistakes less often is the goal.
So how would they mirror that in practice? Because as you know, being a former player in this league, like, it's one thing to say, yeah, we're going to do this, but it's another thing to mirror that in practice. What type of drills would help to improve this team in that facet of the game? I think we can both agree, like, that's a major takeaway in the first 6 weeks, is that when they have the puck, they make mistakes with the puck, and it's game management, it's puck management for sure.
It's tough to simulate in practice. I mean, the coaches are
Yeah.
always going to the well trying to find new drills and whatnot, but bottom line is, like, those high end game like drills, they're tough to do for a couple of reasons. Like, you got to be playing defense as hard as the other team would be. You got to be going full tilt game speed, and a lot of times practice is just to get your legs under you, get the lactic acid out, loop and shoot, feel the puck, get a sweat going, and get the hell on the plane and go to wherever you're going. Like, you can't always grind that hard because you're playing every second night. So it is tough to simulate that in practice, but anything you can do where you can simulate that game type of atmosphere, like some in zone games, some neutral zone stuff where there's pressure on guys, and we just keep gotta running through it and figure out, in this situation, where is your support, where is the danger zone, and it's just, you kind of got to go back to basics, like keep it off the glass, keep it to the wall, keep it out of the middle. Your support's going to be here. You can't cut back in this situation. You're going to have nobody with you, and just keep beating their heads against the wall with these things until they start to implement it in a game. But realistically, you just, as much as coaches try, you can't simulate NHL game speed in practice.
Do the Devils deserve more credit than maybe we're giving them for the way they played last night? I know, like, the fallout of that game, watching on TV, listening a bit on the radio, was that, oh, Toronto let one slip away, but are the Devils not getting the credit they deserve early on? They've won 14 of 17, and they've won 11 in a row here.
Yeah, they're fucking good, no question. Give
Yeah.
credit where credit is due. And we knew that going in. We knew they were going to be a good team, and we said that. We're like, holy shit, we got a real heater. If we can compete with this team, we can show that we're up in the top echelon. And they did that. But like I said, when your expectations are to be talked about as that top echelon team, you're gonna
Mhm.
start to go through it with a fine tooth comb and say, well, why didn't we get 2 points? And again, I'm happy with the fact that it wasn't just like, well, we just can't beat that team. They're just way better than us. It's no, we made some mistakes that cost us the game that are very capable of cleaning those up. We
Yeah.
just got to not make those mistakes, and we could have got 2 points against that team and broke their streak. And that's a good problem to have.
It is, and certainly we look forward to Saturday night. It's the Leafs and Sabres from Scotiabank Arena as the mini game, 3-game homestand continues for the Maple Leafs. But as reference off the top, it doesn't matter what Buffalo's record is. They always seem to play Toronto strong. They're not feeling good about life. Were you that superstitious guy when you played in the show that you would switch things up if you guys were on a losing streak, or more specifically, when you were on a fight losing streak?
What fight losing streak?
You won
No,
everyone, eh?
in my head, I did always. No, not really. I wouldn't switch anything up. I tried to stay away from that shit. The game's hard enough without getting, your mind all jumbled up in what kind of tape you're using or whether you took a freaking cold tub that day or not or whatever. Just do what you got to do to feel good and stay loose was my thing. And you know, some guys get kind of weird about all their stuff, especially goalies. And I just found that it was more distracting than anything. You're worrying about shit that doesn't really matter. So I tried not to, but, you know, again, I just don't want these Leafs to be like, wow, we've been playing some, a decent team
Yeah.
there in New Jersey. Now we get a little break. This is good. We can get 2 points on the board and move on down the road. Like that's the kind of mentality that's bit this team in the ass already. And when you're starting to chalk the points up and starting to roll and you're sitting in a good spot in the standings, it really sucks to give away points, when those should be gettable points. So I just hope the mentality in there isn't like, freebie game or anything. And certainly not. The Sabres are capable of playing good hockey. Their record's average, obviously, but every team in this league, man, will take it to you if you have a sleeper.
Since you brought that up, again, you have the unique perspective that you played in the NHL. There's no doubt in my mind, and players never admit it, but from team to team, game to game, the feeling, the sentiment is different. Hell, I feel it when I play beer league hockey. When I know I'm playing a shit team, I'm like, I know it's points afternoon because I play in the afternoon on Sundays. Guaranteed. And maybe this, you can't speak to this because you weren't known for your point totals and your goal scoring and all that. You're known more for your fists. But like the mentality for a player changes game to game, no?
It can, and it's a collective thing, right? Like, who are we playing, and what does that mean? And after taking the time to ramp up for the Devils, and oh man, like there would have been a lot of preparation going into that, as there is every game. But it might be, for certain players to be like, oh, good, like we can exhale here. We're playing
Yeah.
the Sabres, and maybe all that stuff we've been working on, and all that really tight checking, tight thinking stuff can maybe take a back seat tonight, and I'm going to try to do something and really wind it up and do some looping and shooting and do something fancy and really work on getting my confidence up or something. Like no one's thinking that, but subconsciously it creeps in, right? It does. And I mean, coaches' speeches are always hilarious because they come in and you can tell they're like, I'm going to say something to fucking try and cut that out of the mentality, and I'm going to try to address this in the room, or else maybe they don't try to address it all at all and be like, exact same way as 2 nights ago, nothing changes. And they're just trying to make sure you don't come out and have that stinker. But unlike the individual sports, man, you got 20 people who all have a thought process and a mentality and an approach. And whether you like it or not, things creep in when there's that many people involved. And sometimes you have those eggs that you lay, but I think they've learned from it. They got that shit out of the way, hopefully in October. We haven't seen any of that type of just complete lackluster play from the Leafs since October. So I like to think they've grown as a team and they can come out, and I don't think anyone's thinking they're just going to smash the Sabres. I mean, everyone knows you got to go put out a good performance, and they are the better team. And if they play solid, then they should win the game.
It really is interesting, though. Anybody who's played sports in general, there's just always that aura surrounding your team, especially a team sport when you're getting set to play a game where you feel it or you don't. I don't know what it is. Like you're either optimistic or you're feeling kind of on edge that something may happen. It's just that feeling, that sentiment. Now you translate that over to the NHL and the professional level. I could only wonder, but certainly I think you're bang on. If there's one team you don't want to take lightly, it's the Buffalo Sabres, especially coming off 7 straight losses. And watch out for Tage Thompson. I don't know how much you've seen of this kid yet, man. Like he's 6'6". He's an absolute beast. And he plays center, and he's got a booming shot, and he's been on complete fire for the Sabres.
I know that's impressive, man. Some of these some of these guys and just athletes in general. I was watching the NFL the other week, and like some of these guys, like what they're doing at 6'6" and 7,
It's
and
nuts. Yeah.
carrying around 240 pounds with you and stuff. And it's like, okay, you're supposed to be this big lurching strength
Mhm.
beast, slow guy, and you're not. You're like this freak athlete that can do it all at that size. It just kind of defies physics, really. But yeah, definitely some impressive up and comers in this league, and he's certainly one of them.
So a quiet night in the NHL tonight, just one game. The wrap up is brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada.
What do you got
I
for me?
love that start to the segment. I love that start to the segment. I was going to preface by saying I'm on a heater, but clearly you're on a heater on vacation. You're in California. So for tonight's game, and there's only one game as mentioned, Rosie, we have to go to Vancouver and Los Angeles. Give me Anjay Kopitar over 2.5 shots on goal. So he got 7 in the past 2 games. He's looking shot a lot recently, not really his forte, but Canucks are loose defensively, as we all know. And the Kings are coming off a big win against Edmonton. I'd also add, too, that I know the price is a bit juiced, but I like the Bo Horvat shot prop 2 over 2.5 shots on goal. He's in a contract here. You know how I feel about my SOG props. So I'm going to Kopitar, maybe a bit of Horvat tonight, too.
Cool. Have you hit a shot prop this year? You've done a few of them. I feel like you've been stung a couple times. Have you hit a few?
No, I just got off saying that I'm 3 for 4 this week.
Oh,
Of
sorry.
course I've
Good, good.
of course I've
Well,
hit
Matt.
them.
Okay, sorry. Oh, easy, big guy. You hit your Matthews finally. Like, how do you go to Matthews that many times and just not get paid, but finally get her done last night? And yeah, those
Yeah.
shot props, man. It's yeah. I just feel like the last one you did, you got burnt on with the one shot, but
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, why not, man? And Horvat, I really like that. Even if it's juiced, it's for a reason. It's juiced.
Yeah.
It's kind of a not a sure thing, but I mean, their Vegas is very confident as well that he's going to do that. So sometimes you just got to throw a little more at it and see if you get paid.
Dude, did you see the 2 cards I put out there on Thursday night on Twitter regarding shot prop parlays? I don't know if you caught this last night. Did you catch it?
No, I never did. I
So
like it though.
so I had a 6-leg shot prop parlay last night. Naturally 5 of 6 hit. And Brock fucking Nelson of the New York Islanders, dude, had 2 shots. He had the puck on his stick with 5 seconds left, and the shot was blocked. So I lost a 6-leg shot parlay last night because of that.
He was at 3 and he had to sit on his stick
He
for
was at
your.
2 and he needed 1 more, and it got blocked with
He
5
needed
seconds left.
3. Oh my God. I don't
Yeah.
go that deep with parlays very often, but they are like when guys do them and they're getting close, I can imagine it's just so intense watching. And then once you just start checking them off, my
Oh.
God, but that stings so much to get that close and get burnt.
Yeah, anybody who bets on the NHL and sports, like it was just one of those nights. I had another parlay, a shot prop parlay. It was 3 guys, and Frank Vetrano was the one guy in Anaheim, had 2 shots. I needed 3. I would have won another parlay. So all in all, it's been a hot season for the shot props, but man, like it just hurts that much more, especially when you have a 6-leg parlay and the last guy gets that close and you're about to win some coin, but you don't.
Yeah, that's not very often you get that close. It stings even more than just losing it right out of the gate, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just for fun. Lauren writes in, don't have Marner out there the next time there's OT on to Buffalo. Again, like we got to this conversation earlier on, Rosie, like there's only so much you can do. You have to credit New Jersey. It's all about the opening faceoff, right? And I think you'll take your chances with John Tavares, who's one of the better faceoff guys, not only in the Leafs, but in the entire NHL, right? He loses the draw. And for the most part, the Leafs never really regained possession. So I think that's part of the reason, but maybe you try something. Hell, maybe you try Tavares and Matthews on the same ice. Would you do that?
Yeah, I don't mind that. Honestly, like I know Johnny kind of turned it over a little bit there, but
Yeah.
with his awareness of the ice and his smartness and understanding of the game, I don't mind him out there at all. People think he's slow, but he doesn't really. He can just be positionally sound and understand where to go. And then when it's time to crack the whip and go north, he's definitely got the ability to do that. I just don't love Marner. I feel like he's thinking overtime. All he sees is open ice. All he does is want to just bust and get that breakaway and be gone. And a little bobbled puck or a good read by their team, and he's looking over his shoulder and away it goes. And
Yeah.
for that reason, overtime doesn't last very long usually. Like you say, the puck possession is huge off that opening draw. It's like almost like winning the coin toss in overtime for the NFL. But I just think Nylander should be out there. Like, he seems to be a little bit less, I'm going to get my cookies right now. And you could put him out there. I mean, you can mix up anything, man. You can do whatever. You can put 3 forwards out there. You can put a D up there on the wing. You can do whatever the hell you want. So I just don't love that. I feel like it's just Keefe kind of saying, hey, Mitch, you're my boy. You're still my boy. Like, don't worry, you're going out there, buddy. You're still my boy. Like, kind of trying to give him his cookies and get him, an overtime goal so that he's, a little more confident in overtime or whatever it is. But this is the NHL, man. This isn't, you don't get stars on a chart for trying. Like, if you're not great at it, then put someone who is.
Since you brought that up, dude, and I tweeted this out last night, we have to stop, I should say, with Mitch Marner playing defense. Like, this is a comedy act to me. Like, it really, really is. Like, I had to check. I'm like, am I watching beer league hockey or is it the NHL? Like, so they put Marner out last night in the third period. They're down 2-1. Put him on D. I get why they're doing it, but the guy got absolutely rinsed and walked by Nico Hischier, which almost, by the way, put the game out of reach. It was going to make it 3-1. And again, Matt Murray deserves a lot of credit. But I just think you're compromising the integrity of the NHL. And I'm that guy, by the way, to go out there and put Mitch Marner on defense. Come on. Like, are we serious here, Rosie?
Compromising the integrity of the National League. I like the strength of that statement. Yeah, I mean, it worked a little bit in preseason, but yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like, why him? He's not even close to the most defensively sound guy. I know you're looking for offense to get back in the game, and yeah, it's nice they tied it up late in the third period, but he just doesn't seem like the guy to do it. When he's skating backwards, he kind of looks like a forward skating backwards. Like, oh yeah, C cuts. Oh yeah, look up at the chest. Like, holy fuck, man, this is the NHL.
Sidney Bauer's school of skating, right?
You just you get walked, and he does. And I don't know, maybe for I don't know. Like, you try to find positions and opportunities where that would look good, like an offensive zone draw or whatever, and it's still you're kind of like, well, what if you don't win the draw? Then you're stuck with a non-defensive forward playing defense. It's not great. I'm surprised they're still doing it. I kind of thought that would just fizzle out, but I like doing new and inventive things. I just don't like Marner's mindset defensively sometimes. So why him is what I say.
It's a mockery. At this point, I think you have a better chance of putting Jordy Ben up front than you have Mitch Marner on the blue line. Like, there's so many other guys. Like, David fucking Kampf I'd put on the blue line before Mitch Marner, man. I know you're looking for offense, but dude, like, watching it, and I'm not the best skater. Remember the C cuts, like, growing up, you put your glove up. Like, I'm like, is this the NHL? No, it's a 2-1 game against, exactly. Like, I felt like I was watching Dancing with the Stars or something. Like, I'm not into it, clearly.
I can tell. But I like you when you speak your mind and get a little bit pissed off about something, so keep it coming.
Thank you, Rosie. And with that in mind, that'll do it for another week of Leafs Morning Take. Excellent job. I guess the weekend continues. You're there for, what, a week at Disneyland?
I don't know. We're all over the place. Yeah, we come back on Wednesday, so that'll be it for the show for the weekend. And then, don't worry, lots of time to tee up Leafs Morning Take. I like starting my day off with this.
Yes, with a little maybe tea in hand or a coffee in hand, as well as Lauren put on the show yesterday. So, Rosie, great stuff. We'll talk on Monday, okay?
Right on, man. Have a good weekend.
You too. That's Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. Remember to subscribe, tap that like button, and leave us a review, and we'll talk on Monday. Take care.